Hey everybody, welcome back. This is RJ here at Pinyerd Law, and today I'm actually going to be covering the form VA Form 21-0781. This is your statement in support of claim for PTSD. So the way that this form works is when you file your initial claim for PTSD, you're going to file that on a VA Form 21-526EZ, and the 0781 is to accompany that form. So because this is the form that's going to be your statement in support of your claim for PTSD. Okay, so I'm going to say this in advance. I'm going to be glancing off screen to be actually going down the form a little bit. So I'll take my eyes off the screen, but I want you to just note that I just want you to pay attention to that. So when you see me diverting, you'll know why. Okay, so having said that, let's get into this form. So the very first section of the form, section number 1, is going to be the veteran's pertinent information. So name, date of birth, social security number, things that identify that veteran. So make sure you fill that portion out in its entirety, give every bit of information that's needed, and email addresses aren't bad to put in there. I kind of recommend it, but just make sure you take care of that section properly, okay? I'm going to take you down into section 2 because now as we get into section 2, we're talking about the traumatic events information. So this section here, you can check more than one box. So don't limit yourself if you've experienced more than one of these traumatic events that qualify. Make sure you check the boxes, okay? But in section 2, it says traumatic events information. So the options that you have are combat traumatic events, personal trauma events that not involves MST. You have personal trauma events or traumatic events involving MST, and then you have other traumatic events. So check the boxes in section number 2 that you feel are pertinent to you and your situation, okay? When you go down into section number 2, it's going to actually give you a brief description on how they would like to see your claim or your statement of support of claim laid out. Now, with this being said, the way that it normally works is if you looked at the 526EZ under the claim section, it's similar in nature. So it gives you an idea of how to break it down so that you can put it in a position to where you can see exactly how you're claiming and what you're claiming to make sure the dates and things line up for you, okay? Now, you go down section number 9A. Again, it covers the brief description of traumatic events, location of traumatic events, and dates traumatic events occurred. So that's, again, tying into that very top portion for your examples. You'll use that, and then you'll go down into the remarks section, and you'll document. Now, when you get down to the remarks section of this form right here, it says, note, it says, briefly surmise the nature of the traumatic event you experienced. While providing this information may be difficult, this information may help identify evidence to support your claim. Important. If you provide names of individuals who are involved or present during the traumatic events, the VA will not contact these individuals. In key words, will not contact these individuals. Please know providing names is not required for the VA to continue processing your claim. So you may know the name, you may not. It's not important. The biggest thing is making sure you fill this information out on this form and keep it moving, okay? So now I'm going to move you down to section number 3. Section number 3 says additional information associated with the in-service traumatic event. So with this section here, it's saying important. The information will help us identify records, sources of evidence that may support your claim. If you are unable to include this information, the VA will still review and consider all evidence available to support your claim. If additional space is needed, use the section 5 remarks. So they give you a whole nother section that you can use. Then I have everything highlighted on this form. It says, note, it says VA understands that in-service traumatic events may not have been reported or documented. In these situations, other information such as behavioral changes and or sources of evidence may be used to support the in-service traumatic event. So now they're basically telling you, you may have been through something that may or may not be a part of your records. And they're recognizing that on this form. So they're also telling you that just because it's not on the form doesn't mean they're not going to develop this claim for you to see how they can possibly get you to that exam. We just have to make sure that we pay attention to this section because they're giving us a way to document some of the things that have affected us. So you go down to number 10, it says, indicate any behavioral changes following the in-service personal traumatic events. It says, note, behavioral changes can include but are not limited to the examples listed in items 10A through 10C. If your traumatic events is combat only, you may skip to item 11. So again, if you are experiencing something that is combat related, you can skip to item 11. Now, as you go down through the form, it says 10A, behavioral changes experienced following the traumatic event. Check all the boxes that apply. So I want you to read through here and find what applies to you and check the boxes as they apply. 10B says additional information about the behavioral changes, if applicable. So approximate time change occurred, documentation of record. So just to give you an example, it says increase, decrease visits to a healthcare professional, counselor, or treatment facility. That's the top box. Then next to it, it says additional information. So approximate time change occurred, documentation of record. So if you can remember when that shift took place, I want you to document it right here. And keep in mind, if you need additional space, section 5 in the remarks section is where you can place that information, okay? Now, I'm gonna keep scrolling down the form, and you have additional boxes here, so it continues on page number 5. And then 10A, it says, for box C, it says, as needed, list additional behavioral changes following in-service personal traumatic events that were not listed in items 10A. And there's a box, and you can put all of your information there. Now, if you were the combat traumatic event, you will be right next is item 11. Item 11 says, was there an official report? So they want to know, was it ever reported? If it was reported, you check yes. If it was not reported, you will check no. If it was reported, you want to continue down box 11 because it's going to ask you some other questions like, was there a police report? Restricted, unrestricted, or neither. They'll ask a couple of questions. If it was not reported, you're going to skip straight to item 12. So on item 12, you're going to go possible sources of evidence following the traumatic event. So here it says, the following sources of evidence may provide additional information for your claim. This list is not all inclusive. If you have any individual witnesses who know about the in-service traumatic event or would have knowledge of a behavioral change you experienced after the personal traumatic event and wants to provide a statement on your behalf, please use the VA form 21-10210. That is your lay or witness statement. It says if your individual/witness is a veteran, they may be requested to provide their DD form 214 and other evidence of service. They want to verify that that person was indeed somebody who was in the military during the time that you experienced your traumatic event. That way they're making sure they're basically putting all that information together because you're giving them a person who was in service and just want to verify that you guys have that connection, okay? So some of the examples you have down in this box here, following the traumatic event, a rape crisis center may have been contacted, a counseling facility, family member or roommate, a facility member, civilian police report, a chaplain. So you have a couple of different options to choose from here. You don't have to just choose one, choose all that apply, okay? Section number 4 says treatment information. So with this section here, have you ever received treatment related to the impact of the traumatic event? If you have, you're gonna complete 13B through 13E. If no, you're gonna skip to 14, okay? Again, I'll say that again. If you have had any treatment, you wanna go and complete 13B through 13E. If you have not, you wanna skip to 14, okay? So we're gonna skip down because if you go to page 6, it is gonna continue, and this is where it gives you the name and location of treatment facilities. Let me say this to you because I think this is important, and I even say this to people on the 526. If you have received treatment, you want to give the VA this information, even if it was at a VA medical center, because they will go out for those records. And even though a VSR or an individual on the inside will have access to your records, you want to point them specifically to records that will support what you're talking about and where you've been and what you've experienced. It helps your case tremendously. So don't leave it to chance. Don't say, yeah, they might see it. Point them to it. That way there's no mistake that you know the date. Point them to it so that they can say, yep, there it is right there. Okay? Tidbit, side bit of information to you. There's going to ask for the name and location of a treatment facility, dates and treatment. Approximate dates are acceptable. Approximate dates are acceptable. And then it says check the box if you do not have dates of treatment. So if you don't have it, just check the box. I don't have it. Okay? I don't know the dates of treatment, but I got the name of the facility. So then you still give them the name of facility. It's a little bit more work. Might take a little bit longer to rate or decide your case, but at least you're pointing them in a direction. Okay? Section number 5 is your remarks section. Now it says, this section is optional and can be left blank. However, if additional space is needed to fully answer a previous question, or if needed, use this section to provide any additional information that you feel is important for us to know that may support your claim. I want to tell you this. Use this space. Use this space. And do not be afraid to be vulnerable, all right? One of the biggest things that we will do to ourselves, and I'm only saying this because I'm actually at the end of the form. Everything else you pretty much will know how to do, but if you have questions, you can reach out to me. You've experienced something that was very traumatic to your life. Had this not be the case, you wouldn't be filling out this form. You wouldn't be here in this position where you're looking at claiming PTSD through the Department of Veteran Affairs, but something happened. You knew who you were when you went into the military, you know where you are today, and you know that it is something that has impacted you to some degree. And I'm only giving you this sidebar of information because I really care about you, and it is more than just a guy trying to tell you how to fill out a form. It is a fellow veteran, Army, Navy veteran, telling you that I recognize and I understand where you are. And I want you to know that it's okay. We've been told many times by the VA or by the military, I should say, suck it up and drive on. And, you know, we can go through a lot because we were geared for it. But that doesn't mean that we weren't broken inside. That doesn't mean something inside of us didn't change. Something did, or obviously we wouldn't be here. So what I'm telling you to do on this form is I'm telling you to go deep and go to a place where you will be vulnerable. If you do this the right way, you're going to shed tears. You'll be sad because it'll draw up things that will hurt. But I want you to know that you're in a safe space with this, and I want you to understand that this is to help you to get the opportunity to have an exam and to hopefully get you to a place where you can receive compensation for your traumatic event. So take the opposite approach of what we were told in the military. And when you're doing this form, I want you to do me a favor. If you are a married person or a person with people who depend on you, don't just see yourself. I want you to see the people that are behind you, that are looking to you for the guidance and the love and the support, and understand that if you're broken, they're broken too. So I want you to take this opportunity, use this form as a tool to truly express yourself and know again that you are okay. But if you need to talk through any part of this at any time, whether you are a veteran that we are working with currently, or you're just somebody looking for somebody to talk to about the form and what you need to do, or even just share, you can reach out to me here at Pinyerd Law. My email address is rjones@pinyerdlaw.com. It is my pleasure to assist you in any way that I can possibly be assistance, okay? So again, on behalf of myself and everyone here at Pinyerd Law, we truly thank you for tuning in. And what I'd ask you to do is to like and share this video, and eventually give me some ideas of what you guys may be thinking in terms of what you may need to hear so that we can get you pointed in the right direction as well. Okay? Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.